Hey, it's State of State. We got your Nittany Line update. It's a football discussion with Tom and Justin, so kick back and press play.
With former Penn State and NFL defensive back Justin King, I'm Tom Hannafin. This is State of State. Please like, comment, subscribe, rate us, and turn on notifications. Follow us on social media at State of State Pod. Comment on our YouTube channel. And if you haven't done so already, you can become a member of our YouTube channel. For just 99 cents a month, you can get all upcoming episodes of State of State, plus our entire members-only playlist, ad-free, commercial-free. Hit the join button on our homepage or follow the link in the description of this podcast. This podcast is presented by BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all your sports betting action. Baseball season is in full swing, and we're deep into the NBA and NHL finals. BetOnline has more ways to stay in the action with the latest odds, news, and scores, even live in-game betting while the games are being played. We keep the dog days of summer rolling with the largest selection of odds on everything, with updated odds on Major League Baseball, UFC, and boxing, to tennis and NFL futures. BetOnline remains the best online source for all your sports wagering info. In between games, head over to the BetOnline Casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. Penn State fans, are you feeling confident that the Nittany Lions can win college football's national championship next season? Lock in your futures bet at betonline.ag today. State of State is presented by BetOnline. The game starts here. State of State is a proud supporter of Blue White Outfitters. Blue White Outfitters was created as a retail shop meant to highlight the confidence, competitiveness, and fearlessness of the elite athletes found throughout the history of Penn State University. Check out their Lockdown U and Lawn Boys merchandise today. All sales from Blue White Outfitters directly benefit Penn State student athletes. Also, official State of State merchandise is available now. Support the show and grab State of State t-shirts, hoodies, hats, and more. Visit www.bluewhiteoutfitters.com today. Hi, everyone, and welcome to State of State. I'm Tom Hannafin. He's Justin King. Today, we're getting Jay King's firsthand evaluation of what he saw at Penn State's prospect camp in recent days, and also some news from last week that we can get Justin's opinion on in terms of the roster for Penn State football as it's shaping up for 2025. Some news last week, especially coming out of James Franklin's press conference. So I want to start with that and then get to the prospect camps. Justin, I didn't have a chance to talk with you about this last week, but defensive end Max Granville is out with a long-term injury, out for the foreseeable future. So you know how James Franklin works when he says that. Typically, that means a guy is lost for the season. The information, not a ton other than that Franklin saying Granville got injured while working out at home during break. This feels like a pretty sizable hit to the defensive end room. I think it felt like from the outside looking in, there were expectations that Granville was going to be able to be a contributor at that defensive end spot opposite Dennis Sutton. Now it very much looks like Zuriah Fisher is going to be the guy at that spot opposite DDS. And I think there was some expectation that was going to happen, but more of a feeling like Fisher and Granville would be rotational. And then you have a host of guys behind there who either just haven't got the experience yet, have a lot of promise, or just haven't had the chance to really do it in a Penn State uniform, a transfer like a Nye White, for example. So what was your thought when Max Granville went down for that room?
I mean, it's terrible. I mean, anytime that you lose a guy for the season, I think it shakes things up and it challenges. I mean, your history of talent acquisition at that time, like, do you have somebody to fulfill that role? But again, the way that they develop up there, it's a gap, but I think it's one that could be filled.
There was a lot of praise from Franklin in that press conference for Zuriah Fisher. He's been in the program for a long time, has a lot of injury history, unfortunately. So it just is a wait and see sort of thing. And you heard from Franklin saying that internally they expect a lot of big things from him this year. Reading between the lines, is that now a necessity, or has that always been how the team and the program has felt about Fish?
Which part?
Well, now that Granville went down, and in the words of James Franklin, they were depending on Granville for this upcoming season. And you don't hear James speak that way very often. Now that the focus is on Zuriah Fisher to be that primary starting defensive end, potentially opposite Deni Dennis Sutton. You hear James Franklin saying, hey, there's a lot of excitement internally, and we all expect Zuriah Fisher to have a big year this year. So, like, you were hearing that, but it was also like, again, as I mentioned, a guy with injury history, been in the program for many, many years now. So it's like, hey, is that now messaging that's being put out there because you have to put it out there, or is that true?
No, I think there's a part, both can be true. I think you're trying to encourage a player that has potential and has had injury, and you're trying to reaffirm a player that has been hurt, that like they have a lot of value and that they believed in them as they're going into their recovery process. So I think you're sending two messages for building in the future, but at the same time, you're being honest about one was the starter for a reason, and one we haven't been able to really depend on because of injury or whatever the case may be. So we just don't know. And I think that's a real emotion as a coach when you're trying to have check marks, pluses and minuses, or equal signs next to your roster when you're kind of balancing out where you feel comfortable, where you have to build, and where you have to upgrade.
Now, as I was mentioning at the top of the show earlier on this week, it was Justin King who had the chance to attend Penn State's prospect camp at State College, Pennsylvania. So what was your overall takeaway from the camp?
I mean, you always can expect, Andy Frank ran camp to be organized and efficient. I mean, that's the one thing, take a lot of competition. They had a good amount of commits up there, some good young talent. And it was a well-run camp, even though there was rain.
There were a lot of different players that we can look at in this. I want to start with wide receiver because I think that's where every Penn State fan has been looking at for years now. So I think there's a lot of questions about what the position is going to look like in the near future. There's a lot of hype behind Jasir Rogers. He's somebody that people think could be a wide receiver one, a true alpha at the position in the future. What did you see from Rogers?
Oh man, a very shifty, one-touch type of guy. I don't think he lost the one-on-one. I mean, that's what you want to see from a receiver that you're taking at Penn State. He's making plays, tracking the ball well, creating separation, playing with confidence, but had a nice even kill to him as he operated. So it was a joy to see.
Is he a guy that you think could live up to that hype, or is that just kind of the general excitement people have about recruits?
No, he's definitely somebody that has real ability to separate and electric traits. So I think that's something that Penn State needs when you talk about creating separation, one-on-one matchups, and everything we talked about in the past years that they kind of lacked.
Another wide receiver that I believe you and I have talked about here on State of State, Khalil Taylor. What did you think about Taylor?
Khalil, that's my guy, man. He's out there making plays. He's effortless with separating from defenders, man. He made a lot of big plays down the field. Ran fast, 4.44, just out of the bid, coming back off of injury. But he showed up. I mean, I think continue to make those guys excited that they have him in the bucket so early. I'm
correct. You work with him through LIG.
Yes. That's what I said. Whoop. That's the guy right there, Mr. Amazing.
What can you? Yes, Mr. I remember you calling him Mr. Amazing in the past. What makes him a potentially good fit for Penn State?
What makes him a good fit? I mean, he's an even killed kid, but he has that home run ability, rare home run ability, and he plays fearless. And I think when you ask a player to play at that level, there has to be a level of audacity to make a play, and I think he embodies that to the fullest.
Flipping from wide receivers to defensive back, your expertise on that front. I know you were excited about Daryl Carey. What can you tell us about Carey?
Yeah, a lot of promise, man. He was up there doing his thing. I mean, it looks like we talk about those luxury development guys where you have a lot of promise. You can see that the stock is rising on him and what they were having him do different things, trying to see where he would fit. But he has a nice long frame to where he can possibly be outside linebacker or even a safety, but moves well, is competing against a tight end up there. I mean, very competitive kid, but I'm a fan of that DeMatha program and what Coach McGregor and those guys do over there. So they caught my attention.
One thing that's really impressed me for years, and we're biased on this show with Terry Smith, but it's just been the depth that the defensive backs have had for so many years. Lockdown U. And to see the continued success when it comes to recruiting, but also the success in the transfer portal. And you and I have talked about this a lot is, you see a lot of programs, they'll go for the guy with the hype or the guy with the big name, and they throw a lot of money at it. It doesn't always work out. And Penn State, it's been the opposite in that they've had a lot of success in the transfer portal, whether it be, something short term like with Jalen Kimber, 1 year off to the National Football League. AJ Harris, transfer from Georgia, was a true freshman, and a lot of people are talking about AJ Harris as potentially already one of the best defensive backs corners in America entering the 2025 season. And I continue to rave about the Audavian Collins acquisition, which was a spring transfer portal pickup, I think 2 years ago from Mississippi State. And it was like, everybody's like, this is a long-term project. And you continue to hear really positive things about him. The development of Elliott Washington II, that sort of stuff. Darius Dixon is a guy who's already on the roster, is on campus, having been a part of the class of 2025. I believe another DeMatha kid in Dixon. I can't remember exactly. But, I mean, there's just so much depth at this defensive back room.
He's modern day, my bad.
Modern day, thank you. In your experience with Terry Smith, is he having to get more and more critical in terms of like, hey, here's what we can accept and look at this point in time? Because it feels like the standard just keeps going up.
No, I mean, I think that's how you expect it to be, right? You get a group of guys and you get the guys like John Reed and Christian Campbell and Grant Haley and Adrian Amos, and you continue to develop those guys and you raise the standard a little bit. Then you get more Monty, and then you get some more guys, and you continue to raise the standard. Kalen can't, you can continue to do that until you can demand certain traits, right? Like, all right, we're not taking anybody that doesn't run 4.3. We're not taking anybody that's not this tall. We're not taking anybody that doesn't do this. We're not taking anybody that doesn't have all the traits and the ability to play football. And I think once you start raising that standard of the raw abilities that you're dealing with, the better the coach becomes. And then you just get critically selective on the makeup of the player. I think that's a lot of things that a lot of times players and families get lost on, is how important that evaluation is once you get into that elite status of athletic traits.
Another player that I know you wanted to identify here was Owen Herrick. What can you tell us about him?
No, he's a rising quarterback here in Pittsburgh, but he had a good day out there tossing the football around. Has a lot of zip on the football, prototypical size, moves well, and just one of those guys where they have quarterbacks that have certain traits. Interesting to see him continue to progress. Be his first year over at Pittsburgh Central Catholic, but somebody else that stuck out.
And last but not least, at quarterback, Peyton Falzone has gotten a lot more publicity, I think, than most quarterbacks. And he's somebody that has the build, has the arm talent, a lot of things to be excited about. What were some of the pros and cons you saw of Peyton Falzone?
I mean, the first thing that stuck out to me was his leadership. I mean, just at a camp, he kind of was leading the charge, like he was a part of the team already. That makes sense when he's a commit. I actually met him last time I was at Penn State when I was up there for something, but he was about to meet with James for a meeting. So just recognize him from that standpoint. But he has a presence to him, right? He's like 6'4", 6'3", 6'4" type of guy. Good upbeat personality, and the ball comes out of his hands the right way. And you could tell that they were using it as a good session to work with him. But yeah, he looked good out there.
How do you feel about the future of the quarterback position once Drew Aller's gone?
No, you have to feel good about it. I think James and that program has done a good job partnering up with different development guys within the ecosystem, like Brad Magner over at QBX. He does a great job developing quarterbacks at all levels, right? And just making sure that you know what you're getting when you're talking about that development, because that's the one thing, is that alignment from who you got to pay, economic impact. We talk about revenue sharing, all that stuff, all the way down to talent acquisition. And how do you have that quality control to make sure that those assets that are coming from all different type of high school programs, all different backgrounds, that they have the capacity to take the coaching and all the different pressures that come with this game that now money is going to be injected in. So having guys like that, myself at LIG Sports Group, and just throughout the ecosystem, providing that quality control, I think they have that at quarterback, which increases a lot of value to when you're talking about a pipeline and feeling good about having that quarterback position be a sustainable position, right? Where you're not being broken down by someone trying to charge you $8 million to play football for a year. I think there's a real No, I'm serious. There's a real benefit to building and like the operation the way that they're going about it.
A lot to keep an eye on with the classes of 26, 27, 28 as time goes by, and especially a quarterback. A lot of questions of what's QB2 going to look like this upcoming year. It's not the same comfort level that Penn State fans have had the last few years with Bo Prabula as the backup quarterback. What's life going to be like after Drew Aller? A lot of big questions on that front, but we're going to keep an eye on all of it here on State of State. Thank you so much for tuning in here in June, and we're getting really, really close to training camp and the start of the 2025 season. Thank you all so much for joining us. This episode and our entire library of shows is available now on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Please like, comment, subscribe, rate us, and turn on notifications. Follow us on social media at State of State Pod. Comment on our YouTube channel. And if you haven't done so already, you can become a member of our YouTube channel. For just 99 cents a month, you can get all upcoming episodes of State of State, plus our entire members-only playlist, ad-free, commercial-free. Hit the join button on our homepage or follow the link in the description of this podcast. State of State is presented by Bet Online and by Blue White Outfitters.